Welcome everyone, and welcome to the live. And in today's live, and basically today is going to be like real quick work because I want to set up the save game system, which requires in like everything basically. So if we go, let me open up whiteboard. So over here, we can see that the stress system doesn't really need the save system because stress system is kind of runtime, but where we can save, like let's say that the player's sanity goes down certain meter, right? Maybe it turns to half. Then we want to save that sanity meter, and then that will like act as our like new current, right? Oh, but if we don't save it, let's say, basically in everything. Okay, so right now, even if this is sanity or battery or which way we are going to like solve at the first place, like the first thing that we're going to solve is going to be options. Okay, so in the option menu, I'm not really saving anything into the hard drive. I'm saving everything into the game user setting. Now, this is a existing file. This is a dot .ini or something like that exists inside the system, which we basically change, and then every time the engine runs or the game runs, it accesses this particular setting, this file, and gets all of that data, right? It is kind of saving, but in terms of, let's say, audio and some custom some custom stuff like mouse sensitivity, right? Sensitivity, whatever, and the gore or the accessibility, which are going to be visuals, and they are not really exist inside the game user settings because they are mostly graphical. Yeah, yeah, they are just graphicals. So graphical or display, the game user settings are based on that. But other than them, we need to save them in particular save file. So something like options.sav. Okay. So we have to save it inside the hard drive to access this in future. So we're going to do that today, and we're going to build the base system and apply most of the options that we see, and we try to save them in the system. Okay, so let's start. First of all, let me tell you one thing. I really didn't know how to like go about the save game system. Unreal Engine documentation did mention it, but it was kind of a tiring process. So I did some research, and if you guys like want a completely depth information on this, then what I am following is Ali's video again. So if you go to the channel, if I would be able to, YouTube. Da-da-da. So I watched this video like and try to understand everything that can be done in a better way. Okay, so rather than just saving every particular thing at the same time, this he actually tells about like how we can save it as a system rather than being it just a function. Okay, so the Unreal Engine way, let me just visualize it for you. So the basic way, or you can say the traditional way of saving game would be, let's say that you have the player blueprint. Okay, so this is the player blueprint, and inside the player blueprint we have the battery function. Okay, so one thing that you need to remind yourself is that there should be a list. In this case, there should be a list of every save file that you create. Maybe it can be game save 1, 2, 3, or whatever. But you need to remember this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this battery value on updation whenever you update this battery, and then you send this value to be saved. Okay, this is a really basic function. You just call it into the blueprint and it saves the value, not the value actually. You need a BP save game object. BP is nothing, you just need a save game object, and this save game object in itself contains all of these variables. So let's say that you want to save battery in this case, then you create a separate variable inside this save game blueprint called battery or whatever, and then you input this battery to this variable. Okay, so we're going to update this save game variable from the variable on updation, from the battery on updation, and then we're going to save this object. Okay, every information, every variable inside this object into the hard drive. Okay, give me a minute, give me a minute. All right, so now that we understand the traditional way of saving game, or the basic way of saving game, what is generally happening? So this is the way. This is the only way that you can save the game. But what is actually going to happen is before, because I didn't know anything and I was trying to do this, is that I was using this saving system. Like I was casting to this object, or I was making like multiple uh, functions inside the BP interface, like many of them, just to save few variables into this system. And then it was just like mass. It was mass all over. So then I watched that video, and now I kind of know like what I have to do, and where should I like organize all of these things. But if you want deep information on this, please go and watch that video. And yeah, so let's get into it. So firstly, inside your system folder, I have over here, I'm going to create a save game. Okay, now let me see. We have, okay, so the other way, or his way, was that what we can do is we can add the, so there's this thing called game instance, STNC. Okay, and this particular blueprint or object or whatever you want to call this particular thing stays the same. Okay, it doesn't change to the default value. So if you have, let's say, a pawn, okay, and that pawn contains a value called I am 3, and you click some numbers, or you click some keys, and then that 3 turns to 5. Okay, that is happening on runtime. Then you change the level. Okay, you go to the next level. When you go to the next level, this value will go back to the default value, whatever you put when you were creating the blueprint. And then now the pawn will still say that it's 3 when we changed it to 5 in the previous one. But this doesn't happen with game instance. If we change it, if we change any value inside the game instance to something else, then it will follow it through to all of the levels that exist in the game, until unless you quit the game, and then it will just like go away from the memory. Then it goes back to the default. Okay, so we're going to create that particular game instance. So we're going to go inside blueprint and search for BP, no, not BP, just game instance. Okay, and we're going to select the simple game instance, and I'm going to call it GIAMA. Okay, you can call it anything you want. This is just my thing, like game instance apartment create entertainments. Now is the thing. Now we need to set up the save game systems and stuff. So what is basically, like, how we basically going to save anything is using save game to slow. Okay, so this is the node that takes in the save game object that we're going to create in just a bit, and then it takes in the slot name. It can be options, it can be slot 1, 2, 3, or whatever, and then user index. We don't need to worry about user index because we are offline. We're creating a offline game, and one platform only, like it will only run on Windows, so I don't really have to like worry about this. And we can load the game with one node as well. Load game from save from slow. Okay, so these are the basic two nodes that does all the uh, hard drive read and write. Okay, so now let's set up the actual functions on how we can save and load these things. So firstly, in the save game, we're going to create a blueprint class called, no, not the blueprint class, but the interface. BPI save game. Okay. And inside here, we're going to have three variables, similarly to what Ali does. So we're going to have a get save game and load save game, and then save game. Wait a minute. Um, save game, get save game, load save game, or we can just say save game, right? Just save game, yeah. Right, and because there are two types of these functions, there is async and then there is synchronized function. Okay, the one I showed you was synchronized, and there is async save game to slow as well. The only difference is that it will save everything in a period of time. Okay, if there is like a lot of objects, it's going to do them like behind the scenes kind of. So let's imagine like that. So the processor have these few things coming in its way. Okay, few tasks. These are the tasks. If we send in the save game synchronized task to the processor, it will take it as priority and then it will complete this process, and only after that it completes it, then it will start taking other tasks like rendering. So if there is like millions of objects that you want to save, and then you hit save, it's first going to write everything, write every variable about those objects into the hard drive, and only after that it will start the game. It will start like restart the game rendering and everything about the game. So it may lag. It can lag or it can crash. It can do any of those stuff. So instead of that, we can do async save. What this will do is that all of the other tasks will be going ahead, and they will just send one signal to the CPU saying we need to write this data into the hard drive, but this doesn't need to be priority. So it will do all of this saving, like maybe with the other processors, maybe other threads, right? The game will not stop when this is happening, basically. Okay, and that's why you see uh, in video games they say do not shut down your game or do not close your game when you see this icon, because this is saving that particular information like behind the game. Like game is running but it's saving that information, and if you close it, it like uh, conflict with this, and then basically the save file will get corrupted, or some of the variables will not be saved. So that's why they say that. Now what we want to do is we want to have inputs here for do we want this to be async. Okay, in both of the load and save, do we want them to be async? And then in the get save game, we're going to get the blueprint. Okay, the save game blueprint. But I actually want two blueprints and two slots, like which will work completely separate from the game itself. So firstly, I want a BP save game. So a simple save game, which will be BP save game, and then we're going to have a another save game. Okay, and this is going to be called BP save options. Okay, so the options blueprint and the save game blueprint are going to be different from themselves. This is what I'm trying to do here, and I will tell you the reason later, but for now we're going to have a variable here just to check that yes, the saving is working and we can move forward. Okay, so the first variable which we are going to get is yeah, I think we should do the core stuff, right? We should like check in and out of the core stuff, or maybe we should go with uh let's just do a simple uh number. Okay, just to check, and we're going to have a integer here. So this is a number that can be saved into the system. This is a variable that can be saved into the hard drive. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here inside the outputs. We're going to get BP save options, or maybe saved options, and then it's going to be BP save options, and compile and save it. Now what we want to do is we want to get this BP interface BPI in the game instance. Okay, so BPI save game, and we're going to set them up. Right click on this, promote to a variable, and this is going to be saved options, and we can create the other one right now as well, which will be saved game. Okay, BP save game, and that's it. Okay, if we refresh this and promote this to variable, now we have both of them. We have the save game and save option as variables inside the game. And now we can go inside load game and save game, and let's do it this way. Now there is one thing that we need to check when we are loading a game. We first need to know, is the game that we are trying to load even exist? So we're going to go over here, save game exist. Okay, does save game exist? And it requires a slot name, which we're going to promote to a variable, and this is basically going to be the slot name. And only if it runs, okay, only if the save game exists, we're going to load the game. Otherwise we are not going to do anything. Okay, and after that we're going to go inside async, go inside branch, because now we need to know, do we want it to be async or not? Okay, so let me do this, and after this we're going to check. Okay, we're going to, if this is oh yeah, if this is true, does save game exist? If this is true, that means we want to save the load the game. But if it's false, then we want to create save game object. Okay, If it's true, then we're going to load the game, but if it's false, then we're going to create the save game object. And over here, we're going to get the save game options for now. I will do the other part later, and we're going to put this in saved options. Now, inside the async of the loading, inside the true, we're going to say async load game from slot, and just load game from slot. Okay, now put the slot name back into both of them, and then we're going to go inside the complete and cast to whatever slot, like whatever blueprint we want to save, because right now we want to save everything inside options. Later we will change the save game and stuff, but for now we want to save everything inside the saved options blueprint, right? So we're going to cast to save options and attach this. All right, and that's basically it for the loading of the game. Now let's go to the saving of the game. Now we need to actually save the file inside the system, right? So again, is it async or not? If it's async, we're going to save async save game to slot, and if it's not, then we're going to sync synchronize save game to slot. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to enter the say slot name in both of them, and which save game object do we want to save. So I want to save the saved options for now. Right? So now this much is done. Now we can move forward on actually saving that number and actually like trying to change that particular number. But before that, we want to load everything about this project. We want to load everything inside this blueprint at the start of the engine or at the start of the game. And how we can do that is by the event int. This particular event runs simultaneously with the start of the game. Okay, just like the game instance, this is the first event that runs. Whatever is inside here will be the first thing that happens when you open the game or play the game in engine. Okay, so let's now get the load save game in here, and we want this to be false in async. And I'm going to go inside the slot name and actually enter saved options as the slot name. Okay, this is going to be our default slot for now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change this value. Okay, we're going to change this number value. So what can we do? So to do that, let's go over to the functions, and now we're going to do save the number. Save the number, not name. Okay, and inside here we can add that integer value. Okay, so this will be number and that particular integer value. And inside our sandbox character, we can basically if we go to the event graph, key press 1. So whenever we press 1, we will game instance, and then we will save number, save the number, this one. Okay, so by default the number is 0, and what we can do is we can add the number here. Okay, so let's promote this to a variable. Maybe yeah. You cannot promote variable. Oh, it just sucks. All right, let's go back. Let's promote this to a variable, and this is new variable for now. We don't need to worry about the naming, and going to set it over here like this, and let's multiply it. Why not? Okay, we're going to multiply it by 2, and the by default value of this number, it can be anything. Wait a minute, let it be just 1 for now. So what we are basically doing is we are updating this number. If we go over here and we get the save the number, and now if we get the saved options and we set the number, we can do this. All right, and then after this, after we have set up, so let me do this. So first we change the number, okay, which we did by multiplying it by 2. Okay, we did this inside the character or any kind of blueprint. Then we send this number to the game instance, which will save this. Okay, which will change, which will act as the like basic carrier of all of the tasks. Okay, so now the game instance will run few of the tasks like this. Okay, first task will be to enter this particular variable or enter this particular number to the BP options or any kind of BP save game object. And once we do that, it will like it will change the number for that particular instance. Like if you change the level at this point, it is not saved basically, because this BP saved game object acts as any other blueprint which does not save the file or does not save the variables throughout the levels. It's only the game instance itself. So what it will do, it will firstly change the variables, then we will save this whole blueprint and all of these variables, all of its variables inside the hard drive. Okay, and then we're going to like this is like the next level. Okay, so let's say that we skipped a level. Okay, we move on to the next level. Now we can load everything back from the game, from the hard drive. Okay, so these are the tasks that game instance is going to do when the BP save game object is basically a container. So you can imagine them like that. So now we're going to go and say save game. So this one, event save game. And again, we don't want this to be async. We just want this to run. And yeah, let's try it. And to visualize everything, go inside saved. And over here inside the save game, as you can see, I did try to do all of this stuff before. Okay, so I did try to do some, and wait a minute. Okay, internet is back. So when we press 1, it's going to multiply it by 2, and when we press 2, it's going to show us like what is the number. Okay, so what we're going to do is actually go over back to our sandbox character, press press 2. Okay, press 2. We're going to print string and get the game instance again, and we're going to get save game. All right, and inside the saved options, we're going to get number and print this. All right, so now if I press 1, 2, oh yeah, the save game, the key is not working in our game. Well, that's bad. um why is it not working though? Is it working in here? So if I go with key event, let's say 3, and I say print, does it work here? Okay, still doesn't work. I need to figure this one out, but other than that, let's um just remove this. Oh yeah, we can do one thing. We can delete this and move this whole section to the walk, not walk, the movement. Okay, so every time we move anywhere, we will just increase this number. Okay, that's what we are going to do. And then we're going to print this. All right, we're going to print this when, let's say, that we jump. Okay, so um da, 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 da. The jump is over here. So when we are going to jump, we're going to print everything, and when we move, we're going to add to that number. All right, let's check it out. Right now the number is 0. We move a bit, number is still 0. Why is that? Save the number, save the number. Let me print something over here so that we know that this is being called print string. As you can see that we're not really saving anything at this point. So maybe I have set it up in the wrong movement. This is world space. This happened on controller. Okay. So as you can see that we changed all of these. We multiplied it multiple times. Too much that it crashed the system. Alright, so instead of multiply, maybe we should just plus this, right? Multiply maybe is too much. Let's just add 1 to this. Okay, so now if we... Why is it not working now? Assign set number. Yeah, what about it? Yeah, what about this? What do you mean? Da, 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 da. Oh, uh, we haven't done this yet. All right, now let's do it. Okay, so as you can see that we are changing the numbers, they are increasing. And now what should happen is if I remove this game and let's see where we are, 160. So it should not start with 0, but it should start with 160. Okay, so it should start with this one. Let's see if we can do that. So as you see, that we did start with 160 and then we updated it because there is a default value for the number. The default value is 1. Now we're going to load this value and we're going to change this value depending on what is it inside the save game. Let's do it. So to do that, I'm going to do it inside the begin play. Okay, and make sure that you do any kind of saving and game instance related stuff before this networking. Okay, so we have to remove it, or there is another way, which is to put it over here after the widget management. Okay, so we're going to get the new variable. We're going to get game instance. Yeah, get game instance, and from here we're going to get save game, just like before. And now in the saved option we're going to get a number, and we're going to change the value of the default. So right now as you can see this is 159. 64, 68. Let me go to some. Okay, 200. So what we want is 200. We want to start when I stop the game and restart the game. It should start with 200. Okay, jump says 200, and multiplying and adding also says 200. So the default value changed, and that's basically how saving and loading the game works. But now we have to do this for the options menu. So let's start with that. Firstly, let's delete all of the number based thing that we did. We don't really want them. It was just a test. Mhm. I forgot about the mess. I don't really know what is actually happening there, so just forget about that. All right, we don't really going to work with the character, so I'm going to close it. And the thing that we're going to work with is the options menu in itself. All right, so over here we have this node, this node. So exiting the menu, and this is basically the simple application of the settings, right? So this is exactly the place where we want to save the game. So what we're going to do is after this remove parent, because uh, it can still do it. I tested it. So it can still do it after we removed everything from the parent. And what we're basically going to do is get game instance. Okay, and instead of saying save the number, we're going to say save the options, right? And this options will have a structure. Okay, it can be basic, like normal integers like this one. It can be integer, string, anything that we want. But I think a structure will provide with cleaner workflow. Okay, so we're going to make a structure for this. So let's go inside systems again, save game. Let's create a new data folder, and over here we're going to create a structure, and I'm going to call this as saved options. Okay, and inside the save game options we're going to use this as save options. All right, now what we want to do is add few things here. Now before that, let's go inside the options menu and let's see what are the things that we want to save. So firstly, I want to save the core content. Okay, this is a boolean value and we want to save it. So let me get a notepad, and over here we have the core content bool. Okay, then we have the audio. Okay, so audio, which is going to be a different type of variable. I will show you what exactly I'm going to go with. And there's nothing really in display graphics, audio controls. Like, yeah, we don't really need to change anything in here except the mouse sensitivity. Yeah, we need to save mouse sense. All right, so we have the things that we need to complete. Let me move this to the different screen so it's not bothering everyone. So we basically need to create these three things, right? So what we're going to do is let's start with the audio. uh no, not the audio. We have to input them inside that inside the here. So first thing is going to be the core content. It's basically, do we want it or do we not want it, true or false. Then we want the audio, audio volume actually, and then we want the mouse sense. All right, now moment of truth. um how about I just do like separate mouse sense X and mouse sense Y, just to be sure. These are going to be floats, that's it, that much is clear. And the audio volume, this is going to be a special type of character. We're going to come over here and go inside string, and then we're going to click on map. Now there is a special property inside map, and let me show you. So we already know arrays. Okay, arrays work like this. They contain anything, any kind of object. Okay, but they contains like they either have the number, the index. Okay, so firstly they have the index and then they have the object, but that's it. They can contain any object. They can contain structures, they can even contain data table. I think they can. I don't, I have never tried that, but If there is a certain kind of variable that you can put in here, you can basically put them in array. That much is like crystal clear. But there is something that we can do with maps. If I write correctly, um, maps. Okay, what does map do? So there is there is index, but it doesn't really matter. Like, oh, who cares about index? So there are two. You can say this is like a table. Okay, so instead of having a table of basically serial numbers and the content, over here we have two table of two separate variables. So over here we can have string, and over here we can have integer. And what we can do is we can say that uh, roll 3 times, and move 4, and audio in this case is 100. Okay, so we can set the value to a particular string, and we can have both of them inside a table just like array, but in this case we can access them by a string or by a tag, instead of just like having multiple serial number which we can forget at any time. So let's go over and let's make that function. So over here we have the string and the float. The reason for going with float is because the values that we have, the ambience, volume, SFX, and master volume, are inside float and not like integer and stuff. So for that reason, we're going to put this inside string, which will act as the tag, like name, master volume, SFX volume, ambient volume, and then the value of that particular tag. All right, so let's do it. So now we have the basic contents of these structure. Now let's put them into the options widget. So over here, we're going to get, wait. Yeah, we're going to get save options, save the options, and then we can split struct this bin, and it have, does it contain score, or what is the volume, and what is X and what is Y. And we can access all of these things inside the widgets. So from the audio, we can get the audio volumes, which I will make this particular type of variable. Not yet. But from the journal, we can get go. And wait a minute. Not really this. Where did it go? Yeah, I'm actually setting this up using that. Why? So either it is on or off. Let me just quickly do this. Switch on string. We have two of them and no default pin. So either it's on or off. without this, right? Yeah. So if it's on, then we will set a basic variable called goal question mark to be on or to be off. Okay, if it's on, we're going to turn it on, and if it's off, we're going to turn it off. Saving it is still not being done. We're going to save it in a bit. All right, so what we can do is we can get core question mark from here, and we can put that there. Okay, so whenever we like get out of the options, basically, so this is on event, on widget destroy. Okay, when we are removing the whole option menu from the viewport, this is going to run at that point. And so if the core is turned on at that point, it will turn it on. And if let's say that the audio or the mouse sensitivity, which is inside the controls, so we're going to get the control and get mouse. uh, we can get the percentage, but what we really want is that particular number. So if we go back to the controls and see where the numbers are, so as you can see, we are like getting this value text. This is the text. All right, so over here we are setting the X sensitivity and Y sensitivity, right? And basically we need to get this particular sensitivity. I'll set up all of the other things later. Let me set this thing completely afterwards, okay? Today I'll just show you the core and audio. I will do everything off offline, the controls basically. Okay, so what do we need? Let's go inside the audio, and I already have created this, but let me create it again so you guys understand. So over here we are getting, whenever we are changing the volume, we are basically setting up that particular volume to a level into the world. Okay, and then we have this volume map. It's similar, we just set the main variable to string, then we set it to map, and then set this value variable to be false. Okay, and then I give it a name of called volume map. And then we're going to set this volume map over here, and let's drag it from here and call it to make map. And then we're going to create 3 times because we have 3 of the values. And first one is going to be master. Make sure that you remember these keys: master, sfx, or MB. Okay, so the ambience volume goes into the ambience, the sfx volume goes into the sfx, the master volume goes into the master. Now this much is done. Now we're going to move to over to options, and we're going to get this volume map. All right, not set, get volume map, and we're going to input that there. So now this much is done. Let's go back to the uh, GIAME, and over here we're going to delete all of this. We're also going to delete print. And now what we want to do inside the saved options, we're going to have we do have it. No, we have to change this. We're going to delete this, and add a variable called options menu, and we're going to get s options or saved options. And now let's come back to the AME, and then we're going to save this options, set options menu, and save it. All right, so this is the saving step. Okay, we saved everything into the system, into the hard drive. Now let's get it back from the hard drive. And how can we get it back? So to get it back, we're going to go inside each of the places again. So if we come back here, let me drag all of these volumes down. We can create a sequence where in the first sequence, we're going to get game instance, right? We're going to get save game. And from here, we're going to get the saved options, and we're going to get option menu. And from here, we're going to break it. Breaking us will give us these things, which basically means we can close other nodes, right? And now we're going to use the map function, which is find. Okay, we can find a particular number, a particular value, depending on string, which is basically a tag. And that's why I said remember what you input over here. Okay, so let's add all of them again. This is going to be master, this is going to be sfx, and this is going to be ambi and c. All right, now let's go and set up all of these values. Okay, so firstly the ambient, no, master. So firstly we're going to set the master volume, so set that. Then we're going to set the sfx and then the ambience. Okay, so sfx and then ambience. Da, da, da. Right, so did you get it till this point? So what we're basically doing is we are saving everything into the file using the options menu, like this function right here. So we save everything, we save every volume to this blueprint, and then we get it back at any point of time, at any instances. Maybe we even, if we close the game and then reopen it, it is saved in the hard drive forever, and then we can access it by using this function right here, and then we can input all of them at the event of construction or even pre-construction. But it depends, sometimes it can cause some errors, like few of the variables are not identified or they are not valid. Okay, so to be sure of that, just go with the construct. They all are valid when we construct the event, construct the widget. All right, so the volume is done. Let's go back to the journal and let's set up the core. So we're going to get instance, get game instance, and then we're going to get save game. And from here, we're going to get option menu. All right, and from there, we're going to break it and remove everything else except the core. And then we're going to set up this value depending on our save game. All right, now let's check it out. So basically how we can check is this working is by just uh, doing this. So this is the game running and this is the game stopping. Right now, everything will turn back to its default value and nothing will be changed. Okay. So what we need to do is I'm going to go inside the options, inside the display audio, and I'm going to change this to a certain position. If you remember, we haven't really set it up the music yet because I don't really have music. And now if we also let's go to journal and let's set it to off. Let's go back, resume the game, and let's check. As you can see, because we didn't set the music, it didn't change, but the master volume, the sound effects, and the ambient is still the same, the one that we set it before. And if you have followed me and you know when I showed the audio menu before, they were used to be here, like forever. They never changed their position. So this is a pretty good thing. And in the journal, this didn't change, but oh yeah. We didn't change uh, the text itself or the selection itself. So we're going to go inside the Gore and we're going to go with select uh, set selection selected option. Okay, and in the options we're going to get select string, and if it's Gore, it should be on, and if it's not Gore, it should be off. Right. So now I'm not even going to change it, and as you can see, it's off because we saved it inside our file to be off. Okay, and if we turn it on, go back, turn off the game, play it again, go to the options. Is it on? It's on now. So this is what basically is the basis of saving and loading the game. Now I'm actually going to show you where this game file is saved. So this is saved option .sav. Okay, this is the hard file, hard coded, not hard coded, but the hard drive file, which contains all of the values once we change them and then save them. And the system loads everything from here, right? So firstly, the bull property, this is probably the one that we were setting for the core. And then we have the audio volume property, which is a map property because we set it to be map. And then there were strings and some values inside it. And as you can see in the string, we have master, SFX, and then ambience. So we know now that these things are actually being saved. So this is pretty good, but you cannot really change anything in this because uh, you cannot really like type in here, you cannot script in here, so you cannot change anything, but they exist in the hard drive now. So we have set it up the save game system, and that's why I said this is going to be a quick live because that was how much I wanted to do today. I really don't want to do anything. I just got my hands on Assassin's Creed Syndicate and I want to play it like for a while now. But other than that, I will work on the other saving aspects of our game, and then I will hit you up. But more than anything, if you are following the development and if you are trying to make your game using this series, I think you should have known how am I doing this save game system and stuff. So this is how am I doing, and let me just really quickly set up the other one as well. Okay, so over here we have the normal one. This is the options one. Okay, so this is purely for saving up the options. But what we want is the other one, which is going to be for other slots. So we're going to check if this is equal to options. Okay, and we're going to change the slot name to be just options. Right, so by default, the say slot name is going to be options. Right, by default it is options. Then we can change it in runtime to certain other numbers like slot 1 if the player select the slot 1 or 2 or 3, depends on that. But by default it's going to open up the slot options because we need the information about what the player saved in the system, right? So if it's option, then we're going to do all of this. But if it is not option, if it's something else, then we're going to firstly duplicate everything and put it somewhere like here and add this to this place. All right, and let's add the async to here as well. So now what we want to do is remove this, and this is going to be save game, and let's set up save game over here, and let's also delete these things and cast to save game. Okay, BP save game. Right, so that is it. Now depending on what is the slot name, we are changing between the save game game save and the option save. Okay, and similarly over here, what we can do is before we are saving anything, so like over here, before we save the game, we can set up the slot name to be options. Okay, so the system know that we want to save it to the options, and let's say that we don't want this now and we want to load it in to the load the game option. So whenever we save anything particular to the game, we change this to that particular slot, whatever slot that we have. All right, so this is probably it. I am not really going to do, like, there is nothing else that will be a huge change, even if like I expand this system. All right, so that is it for today's live. I hope you get some information from it today, and if you have any question, like always, comment down and I will do my best to answer them. Till then, see you in the next live. Bye bye.